On tap, Ebel's Weiss beer.
Better beer authority, better beer.
Hi, I'm James Knott, and this is the Better Beer Authority. Today we have a special guest, Chris Alltmont from Gordon Biersch Columbus. We are drinking Ebel's Weiss beer from the Two Brothers Brewing Company in Warrenville, Illinois, outside of Chicago. The brewery was started in 1996 by two brothers. You get it? Their names, Jim and Jason Ebel, hence the name Ebel's Weiss beer. Their website describes it as a traditional German hefeweizen that is naturally unfiltered. Look for hints of clove, vanilla, and banana. When you drink it, they want you to think you are in Bavaria. The brothers were so passionate about hefeweizens that they tailored the design of the brewery to aid in the production of this particular style. Ebel's Weiss beer is 4.9% ABV and comes in 6-packs and kegs. Hefeweizen is a South German style of wheat beer with low hop bitterness and high carbonation. It contains both wheat and barley. The prefix hefe means with yeast and signifies that the beer will be unfiltered and bottle conditioned. There will probably be sediment in the bottle. Now, like I mentioned before, we have a special guest today, Chris Alltmont from Gordon Biersch Columbus. Well, today's episode comes with an asterisk. Before the show, we were talking about the beer and trying to figure out what flavors and aromas it had. And Chris came to the conclusion that it may not have been the freshest beer possible. After he said that, we checked the date, and lo and behold, November 20th, 2010. It's only 4 months overdue. So, go out and try a fresh bottle of this beer, and we'll continue the conversation.
Let us know your thoughts.
So, Chris, what flavors are you pulling out of this?
Well, it does have all of the classic flavors you're looking for in a hefeweizen. It has banana, clove, two of the main components, kind of a phenolic and an ester that you're looking for as a hallmark of that true Bavarian style hefeweizen yeast. The flavors, however, I think maybe are just a little bit muted on the ester profile. Kind of comes out a little softer. Maybe a little bit more like an American hefeweizen with age, something like a Widmer or something like that, because it really is quite subdued.
Subdued?
Definitely there, but subdued.
Do you think the subdued flavors, is there a correlation to the age of the beer?
Yeah, definitely. I know, we do a hefeweizen year round, and I notice, just in the course of a 6 to 8 weeks that a batch will be on tap. Quite a bit of change in the flavors of the beer over that time. It is a living beer. It has that yeast in there, so it's going to continue to kind of age and evolve. Sometimes, especially when it's very young, the banana will just pop right out at you. Clove tends to dominate a little bit more towards the end. So you definitely get that mix and that change up, which is kind of one of the nice things. I think every time you take a sip, it's a little bit different.
Do you have any timing of when you like to drink the hefeweizens, though?
Yeah, I try to aim for it to be about 3 weeks old when we put ours on tap. And then at that point, I think the banana's coming out, still very prominent. Clove is there, and it'll continue to kind of dominate the beer as age goes along. But you still have enough yeast in suspension, so you get a little bit of the flavor from that. So I think freshness is one of the hallmarks, I think, that really makes a difference with a hefeweizen. It's one of the reasons I think a lot of the European examples you see here, they just don't travel very well.
Okay. Mitch, the description of a hefeweizen talks about the high carbonation level. Can you talk about the carbonation in this one?
Not much.
Not much.
I think it has a lot to do with what Chris said, with it being not as fresh as it possibly could be. When we poured it, there was no head on it.
Yeah,
Carbonation
like
was pretty much gone pretty quickly, and that's it. I don't think there's anything. Maybe a little bit coming off, but not as much as what you'd expect.
Okay, Scott, imagine this is a fresh beer.
I do have a good imagination.
When would you like to drink this beer?
Honestly, I've had this beer in other forms. I guess I've never had the Ebel Weiss, but I have had many hefeweizens, and I really like the beer, and I like this, but I am a little bit disappointed about the flavors and the overall, I guess, contours of the beer. It just doesn't really, there's nothing notable about it, and I think Chris kind of touched on that, saying it was muted, and it just there's nothing. I was hoping that something would stand out, either the clove or the banana, and nothing's really standing out.
So, Chris, in a hefeweizen, the clove, is that from cloves? What causes that flavor?
Partly it's kind of a result of the way the yeast does its fermentation in the hefeweizen style, and then it's also controlled by temperature. So by kind of controlling some of the mash temperatures and the fermentation temperature itself, you can kind of drive a little bit more in the way of those esters, which are just kind of a fermentation byproduct that has the flavor and the aroma of cloves, but there's no cloves. I mean, Bavarian beers, are by and large brewed according to their own Heights, with that nearly 500-year-old law that says there's only going to be malted barley, hops, water, and yeast.
So this doesn't qualify.
They wouldn't qualify under the actual Reinheitsgebot because they still had a royal exemption at the time, and so only the king or people he designated could make hefeweizen, because they wanted people to eat their wheat in bread and save the barley for beer. But the king, being the king, he can drink whatever he wants.
Yeah, Mitch, you have had several other Two Brothers beers, right?
Yeah.
What Two Brothers beers do you look forward to the most?
For me, probably their heavy-handed IPA. For me, that's one of my top 5 beers. Their 2010, it's a seasonal. Their 2010 was amazing. I had this last year and I really enjoyed it. So having this now, I'm not as excited because it's not the same.
We'll have to re-review this one.
Yeah, I think so, maybe.
Heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed. Yeah.
So Scott, this is from the Chicago area. You've lived in the Chicago area. At the time, was this on the Chicago beer scene?
It wasn't on the radar. I'd never seen it when I lived there. No, not at all. I mean, I wish it had been, but now the Chicago scene has changed. I mean, there's craft breweries are popping up left and right. Used to be Goose Island was the only one that was really notable that was there, and now there are probably a half a dozen that are there that are really beginning to grow.
Okay, well, let's get some quick ratings for old crappy beer. Chris?
I'm going to go 6. It really, although not at its peak of freshness, still has a lot of the flavors you're looking for in a hefeweizen. It doesn't have any serious defects. There's really no sign of oxidation, none of the cardboard flavors. So, in some ways it has aged well. And I guess judging by the glass test, putting it down pretty well.
It's drinkable, yeah. Mitch?
I would go with a 6 as well, just because I want to go out and seek it out again to hopefully find a better batch.
Okay.
I would go the same as well. I mean, I really like a lot of the different Two Brothers beers. I mean, their double IPA is great. Their red rye beer is really, really good as well. So, I mean, I think that definitely this is one that deserves to be re-examined with a fresh batch as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, 6 definitely.
Okay, next time we will check the born-on date of this beer. Ebel's Weiss gets a 6.0, 6s across the board on the BBA scale. What is your favorite Hefeweizen? Do you have a favorite beer from Two Brothers Brewing Company? Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. I'm James Knott, and this is your Better Beer Authority.
Better Beer Authority.